Hey guys, Larry here. We're up here at the ferry house up in Uperland. And you're gonna have to excuse the noise there. It's my turbo heater. It's heating up the garage so we can get some work done. But got the truck all done. Got my F350 all built. Drove it on up here. And no problems coming up here. Nothing came up. I am going to be needing tires and stuff this summer, and it does have some steering slop and stuff, but that had it before I did all the motor work and all this stuff, so can't really expect that to fix that. But I came up here because everybody's talking about this huge storm that's going on, and get up here for snowmobiling and stuff. And as you can see, I have issues with both of my snow machines, but I'll get into that in a minute. I'll show you guys what's going on outside. So we do have snow happening, but not like they said. There's the old F350 sitting there. Came on up here and no problems whatsoever. Had a nice little drive up here, no problems with it. She's got a little odor to her, a little smell to it. It's just paint, all in the engine block and all that stuff and everything getting hot and all that. But it actually, today I noticed, I went and drove it today and the smell is pretty much gone. But at first the drive coming up here, it had a pretty good odor to it. But we're getting some snow. They actually canceled school up here, everything else. I'm going to close this up. They actually canceled school and everything up here. They were talking we're supposed to have a foot of snow starting in the middle of the night and going through the day today. And I don't know, we got about 2 inches going on. So I don't know what they were talking about. But real brief history on this here, on my snow bike. I had an issue with it running. It wasn't running properly. And I decided to check the valve clearance. And I did that. And 3 valves were way out. Like, I guess they just seated in and they were way out. So I ended up re-shimming the valves on it. And during doing that, I dropped the shim down in the engine. Not good. It's just a little tiny, little round disc, a little tiny thing. And I dropped one down in there. And I was just like, I am not pulling that motor all back apart to try to find that thing. And I went out the next day, I got it all put back together, did the valve, I got on it, jumped on it, 2 kicks, thing fired right up, everything was working perfect. Next day I went out riding, rode it all day long, 1 kick, 2 kicks, all day long, start right up. And then I was actually sitting on it and idling, waiting for my brother, and he was showing up and I was going to be jumping off in this woods. I wanted to see where I was going. And I was sitting there idling and all of a sudden the bike just went, blah, just died. And I thought I ran out of gas. So I got off, grabbed my jug, started filling up, and when I grabbed it, I moved it, and you could hear a little gas splashing around in there. I thought, that's weird. And I filled it up, I got on, I kicked this thing, kicked it, would not start. And the one thing about this thing is that when you kick it over, this LED light that I put on, this little headlamp, just in case I get stuck out there at night or something, this little light will always light up when you kick it over. It gets power, you know, and that's where I had to spark the spark plug and everything. And this little light would light up. It wasn't lighting up, so I knew I had no spark. And I brought it back here. We towed it out of the woods, brought it back here, and I thought, I bet you anything that shim made its way into the stator and chewed it up. And I pulled the stator cover off of it, and which is this right here. And sure enough, the stator inside there, you can see a little pieces of metal, and the stator inside of it was chewed up. So I left, and I decided to just order new stuff. I actually went on eBay and got like used stuff and everything, and tried to keep the costs low. And I got a used stator, and I got a used coil, and I ended up getting a brand new, I think they call them rectifiers or whatever they call these. This was pretty cheap. And I popped this in last night, and I got up here yesterday, came in here, and I just pulled out the old stator, and I found a pretty good size chunk of that shim in there. and cleaned everything out the best I can and stuff. And I put the new stator in, I plugged it into the existing stuff, gave it a couple kicks, and I still don't have a headlight. So I'm not really sure on this. I got to dive more into it. I don't know if a coil went on it because of it sparked back. I don't really know. I need to test the stator. I need to test the resistance on it and everything else. And I'm going to have to dive into this thing to figure out what's going on. This is what I want to be riding, is my snow bike. It's very much easier on my body, on my back, and everything else to ride a snow bike. So I'd much rather be riding the snow bike, but I want to make sure I have a machine all ready to go and everything in case it does actually snow. And before I left, my snowmobile was just not running right. And I took it to a snowmobile shop, dropped it off to them when I went down to work on my F-350 and was just going to have them guys deal with it. And they looked at it and said, yes, the carburetors definitely need to be redone, but it had a broken bolts and motor mount. And they were telling me like $1,000 to fix it. And I was like, I'll take care of it. And so I actually started to take this. I was going to be pulling the motor out. And just before I pulled the motor out, I double checked it. And the bolt isn't broken off in the block. It's missing. It just vibrated it out. The bolts just fell out. So that's a lot of luck. So I don't have to pull the motor. I do plan on pulling this motor, but right now it's snowmobile time. And it runs and everything. I like to pull the motor and rebuild it and everything, but I think that's a summertime thing. So I had the guys, I pulled the carburetors off when I had this all apart, dropped the carburetors off, and then I had them order me a couple things. Since I was doing the carburetors, the fuel pump sits right here. I haven't pulled out, but it sits right here. Very easy to get to it. So I decided to change the fuel pump. And so I had him give me a new fuel pump. I had a guy that was actually staying here with me, and he's like Mr. Skidoo guy and stuff, and he's like, you better change the throttle cable since you got this torn apart. And I was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So I ordered a new throttle cable, and the ends don't look too bad. I mean, they're not frayed or nothing, and the one that goes to the carburetor is not frayed. But then it also splits off. You can see the new one. It splits off, and it's got a real long one. That one winds way down. And it actually comes in, and it goes to the oil pump. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's way down in there. So that's the first thing we need to change. And I can tell you right now, that line, it's broken. It's not broken and broken, but it's a bunch of the cable, a bunch of parts of the cable are actually broken, and that thing is going to break pretty soon. So I'm glad I'm doing it. So I got to change out that. And I was told by the shop that when I change that line, try to make sure that I hold that when I pull the cable off and everything and put the new cable on, because there's a spring and it winds, and you got to have that spring tight. Otherwise, it's not going to work right, and it's not going to inject oil into it. And so I got the carburetors here. They are all ready to go. They've all been cleaned and everything else, and new jets all put in them. So the carburetors are all ready to go. Here's the stator off the bike, and you can see all kinds of grooves and chunks and stuff in there. And when I had the stator cover off, I found like a quarter part of the shim. These are shims. And see, one of those little deals, one of those little things I dropped down in there. And I found about a quarter of a chunk of one. So there's more chunks inside that engine, and what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to clean it out the best I can and stuff, and I'm going to put new oil into it, new filter. I bought a whole bunch of actually filters, and then I'm going to run it for just like a day, and then come back, change the oil, and I'm just going to change the oil every day and see if I can flush all that metal out of there. Here's the fuel pumps for my snowmobile. I actually just had a question, and I went down to the shop this morning. This here line that actually comes from the crankcase pressure was sticking up, and when I put it in there, it was going to hit the carburetor boot. And I was like, they can't work. And I went in there, and the guy took it in the back and grabbed it with a pair of pliers and just twisted it. It's just like the other one. He goes, that's all you do. And I'm like, oh okay. But this little puppy was expensive. I've bought these for snowmobiles in the past, no problem, you know, cheap as can be. Even the guy was like, whoa, this was $130 for this fuel pump. But, you know, it's time to change it. Got it all apart. Here's the old one. I'll probably save this one and tape off the ends of it and save it just in case. But, and then I got a new choke cable for the snowmobile. And the reason why is because I had a friend of mine pick up the snowmobile from the snowmobile shop and bring it here to me. And he went over there, and the guys over there were like, it will not start, so I don't know, we'll just have to lift it in your truck. And when I started taking this apart, there's a mechanism inside here that kind of grabs the cable. It's weird. I don't know why they just don't make it a solid cable instead of having this whole contraption on there. But this was actually all apart, and it was not together. So they were hitting the choke, but there was no choke. It wasn't doing anything. So I got a new choke cable. Got the new fuel pump, new throttle cable. I put that on there, and everything else. And so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the snowmobile together and get the snowmobile all running and everything. So people show up, and if it actually does snow, and people say, "Hey, let's go snowmobile," and I actually got a machine to go. Then I'm going to dig deeper into the bike. All right, guys. I've gotten that oil pump, the new throttle cable run down. Here's the part that goes to the carburetor. And then the other part has been fished all down through there. And I'll tell you what, that was not a fun job. But it is down there. So now if I hit the throttle, you can see it down in there. Operate the oil pump. So the reeds on this side, this is where the carburetors mounts up, and there's reeds on the inside of there for the airflow. And this one over here was actually cracked. And I took a look at it, and I think I fixed it. I'll show it to you. So I've had it sitting over here for quite a while, and I used some clear silicone adhesive. And what the problem was, yeah, it's all gunked up, is these are reeds right here. These are your reeds, and this is what your carburetor mounts to. But what was happening was this was separating from right here to right over here was cracking and stuff. And so what I did is I put some clear silicone adhesive in there, and I've had it sitting in over in a vise, and it's pretty much cured now. And I'm going to take a little bit of black RTV and put it over the top of the seam, and then I'm going to use some bigger washers that come back and grab the rubber back here so that it holds it tight and everything. I think it'll be fine. When I go to rebuild this engine, then I'll probably just get a new boot and everything. But this will probably work for right now. All right, guys, we got our fuel pump put in. Now it's time to move on to popping the carburetors back in here. Let's see, do I need to put any fuel lines on it first? Goes up there. It's going to go in there. It's easy as that. Just like so. Alright there, boys and girls. Got her all pieced back together. Put some gasoline. Put some gas in there. With one of these non-conformist government gas nozzles. Highly illegal. With this here gas nozzle, you could have a bonfire going and take this here gas jug and pour more gas on the bonfire, which in turn would follow up the gas nozzle and blow yourself up. So we need the government to make us gas nozzles that don't pour so that we don't blow ourselves up. So I feel that's communist. So I got me an anti-American gas nozzle. We're going to see if she'll fire up, and if the carburetors do not need adjustment, because I sure hope not. We're going to take a lot of things back for it again. Everybody says the sled is heavy. It might be because it holds like 20 gallons of gas already. Not quite that much, but I think it's 10 gallons. A lot of gas. Alrighty. Oh, Alright guys, I have actually been pulling on this thing about 226 times. I forgot to plug in a wire for the dash, so I've got that plugged in. I can close this back up. But I still just, I'm messing with it. It just wouldn't start. And I had pulled on this thing and pulled on this thing, and it turned out I had the back end, I had the rear end jacked way up in the air so that I could start it and run the track. And I checked spark plugs, it had spark, everything. I'm checking things, and it's just not working. And finally I was getting a little upset, and I was like, forget it. I'm going to bed, done. And I decided to drop it down and check one thing. And I'm thinking that the tube, the pickup tube, it hooks up in the front of the gas tank, and the gas tank goes all the way back here. I think the pickup tube goes all the way to the back. And so I only put in like 3.5 gallons of gas. So I think all the gas is up in the front because it was lean so much. And I dropped it down, second pull, she popped. So let's see what she does. I just ran her just for a second, and now I gotta turn the camera on. But see if she fires right up. Almost complete. All I gotta do is stick this here bag on there. Bought this last year when I was redoing the snowmobile. The bag cost more than I think the snowmobile did. It has 2 cam locks. It locks on there. Has a shovel on here, and then you just unclasp this here. Opens up, and then there's a watertight bag in there. You can put gloves or whatever, your favorite beverage, whatever. But there we go. I'm still missing the front end. Been a year waiting for that, almost a year now. But I'll show you what I did with it. I put stickers on it. I bought this wrap actually last year. And I've had it in a box the whole time, waiting to kind of finish it. I was waiting for the front end and stuff, but I don't know, it might be another year for that. But it's got skulls on it. It means it's mean. And fate loves the fearless, it says on there. I didn't know it said that on there until I pulled the stickers out. But looking pretty good, man. Take the last thing to do. Let's take her out for a little rip. that side over there actually, when I put on these decals, it actually covered up all of my damage prior. It's a UP sled. It's carbureted, so I can't really take it out west and stuff like that. You gotta mess around with the carburetors and all that stuff, and change the weights in the clutch. So this is just strictly UP sled. But I'll fix that right up. That's nothing. Like half an hour, drill some holes, zip ties, do a Frankenstein patch there. But it'll look good with the skull. It'll have stitching going across it. But the bike, yeah, it's got. I think it's gonna need a new magneto, and I gotta do some testing, tear that all apart and everything. So that'll be later. It's not gonna be ready to go and stuff. So I gotta get to that, but I got other things I gotta be doing. I'm heading out. I'm meeting up some people and going out for the evening, and then I got something I gotta be at tomorrow, and then my brother will be coming back here, and we'll probably be snowmobiling, and I'll come over here and work on a bike at nights or something. So I'm gonna let you guys go. I hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day, great night. Watch this here video, and if you're not, well, certainly just try that all over again tomorrow. See you later.